Ahoy, mateys! Welcome aboard my podcast. I am Jason with Jay's Paradise Travels. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience with Celebrity Cruise Line. I've actually gone on two cruises with them. One of them I just got back the other day, and I figured because the two ships that I went on were sister ships, very similar, I figured I combined it and talk about both. Pretty excited about doing it. I got to admit, I have written down no notes. Once again, since it is fairly fresh in my mind, it's been a few days since I got off the ship, but it is still fairly fresh in my mind. I've got a few things jotted down. I got some pictures as a reference, and that's what I'm going to go by. And we'll see how this goes. I'm excited to tell you about it. It's cruising is always one of my passions, and so I look forward to talking about it. And hopefully, it comes out sounding okay. I'm still a little jet lagged. I'm kind of dealing with that as well. Don't know if you can tell. A lot of things to talk about. But, anyways, before I get into any of that, I'll do a little housekeeping. First off, if you are interested in going on a cruise, going on vacation, and you'd like to reach out to me, there's a couple ways to do so. One of which is through email. My email address is j.paradise.travels@gmail.com. That's jay.paradise.travels@gmail.com. Or I'm on social media, both Instagram and Facebook. I post pictures of my vacations, my trips, my experiences. And you can reach out to me in that way too. They're both the same. Jay's Paradise Travels, Jays, no apostrophe in that. Jay's Paradise Travels. Again, that's either Instagram or Facebook. Feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to help you get on a trip. Okay, let's talk about this. My experience with Celebrity Cruise Line. This cruise that I had just got off of was a 10-day cruise out of Athens. It was a round trip cruise out of Athens. And the ports that we stopped at in that 10 days, only 2 days were at sea. So there was really 8 days that we were at port. The uh, the stops, a couple of them that I'm going to, the stops part of it will be in other podcasts. Today, this podcast is going to focus on the cruise itself. And I'm going to address somewhat of an elephant in the room. Perhaps if you're watching this, you may just be listening. You might not be able to see me, but if you're watching this, you may see I've got a little more hair on me that I don't normally have. Usually, you always see me clean shaved. Um, right now, I'm not. I went on this cruise for 10 days. I was in Greece for 2 weeks from uh, the time I left to the time I got back. It was at least 2 weeks. And I wasn't necessarily trying to grow a mustache and beard or anything. But when I got out there, I just got a little lazy with it, didn't feel like doing it, and a couple weeks has gone by, and this is what has transpired. Um, and I guess I'm figuring it out if I want to keep it, if I like it or not. We'll see. Time will tell. Perhaps perhaps I'll shave it off, or perhaps I'll keep it. I don't know yet. But anyways, I'm just addressing that. This isn't a podcast to talk about my beard, though. This is a podcast to talk about my experience. But part of that experience was not shaving, and I come back and this is what I look like now. Anyways, um, again, I've been on Celebrity now twice. The first time, I'll go back to talking about the first one, which was back in 2017. And at the time, I was working for the airlines, and there was a deal that I saw on Celebrity. I didn't really know that it was Celebrity, but I just saw this fantastic deal, a deal that was so phenomenal. I was like, we have to do this, and it was for a chartered ship, um, and the whole thing was a jazz themed cruise, jazz theme. Now, when I say this was a jazz themed cruise, I mean everything on that ship was jazz. Every single decoration, every single bit of entertainment, all of it was centered around jazz. The only thing that wasn't jazz was the Super Bowl. We sailed, and it was during the sailing the Super Bowl happened, and so they played that in the theater. It was when the Falcons had a big lead on the Patriots at halftime. They were up like 28-3 or something like that. Patriots came back in the second half, forced overtime and won in overtime. During that Super Bowl, that game, we were on we were on this jazz themed cruise, and the cruise was called Blue Note at Sea. Now I haven't looked into it to see if they continued going. That I know when we were on it, it was pretty new, and they had talked about it doing it again the following year, and they were saying to book it's already being filled out. So whether or not that kept going or not, I don't know. But anyways, now I'm not exactly a jazz fan. I don't mind jazz. I'm not against jazz. I can listen to it for a little bit and find some enjoyment in that. But I'm not exactly a hardcore, passionate jazz fan either, where to be able to be a part of it for 7 days, that's going to be a little too much for me. The ones that were there and they were passionate jazz fans, they were in heaven. They loved it because they brought in all these big name jazz musicians. They were playing all the time. They loved it. Good for them. Again, the reason I had done it was because it was just such a phenomenal deal that I was like, we can't pass this up. We have to go, and we did, and I enjoyed it. And that was my first. Up until that point, I had only done interior rooms, but because the price was so low, we could have done a balcony no problem, but all the balconies were sold out. So we got an ocean view room, and it was my first time ever being able to try an ocean view, and it was nice. I loved the view, being able to look out, and I was excited to be able to have that again. That just because it was such a phenomenal deal. On that trip, it was me and Selena and my parents. We were on the Celebrity Summit, and the one that I just got off of was the Celebrity Infinity. Now, both are they're sister ships. If you're on one, it's like you're being on the other. Um, it was back in 2017. I'm recording this in 2025. I couldn't remember every single detail about it, so I'm kind of glad that I got to go on this one to kind of refresh my memory, at least as regards the cruise ship itself. I do remember some things. I do remember, again, jazz themed, and every single thing was jazz. And when I kind of looked over some of the pictures that I had from before, I remember doing this as well, but I didn't remember if it was on a celebrity, if it was Princess. But we did take a tour of the galley. And that tour, the galley, we got to see how things were made. We got to see the kitchen and the different workers, the production of all of it, and it was pretty cool to be able to see because I love eating. That's one of my main reasons I love being on a cruise, and to be able to see the ins and outs of that, that was pretty nice. And then at the end, some guy came and he was talking about the different foods. Um, so that was kind of cool to be able to experience that, be a part of it. Um, and then let's see here. What else do I remember from that? The Super Bowl. They had a comedian. They did have a comedian. I forget his name. He was on some kind of show at one point where, or like a comedian comedy competition type of show, I think, and he was part of it. I don't remember his name. Anyways, yeah. So the memories of it aren't a ton. Um, and I remember there was a basketball court because there was something that wasn't jazz to do. We could go play some basketball, and that was that. But one thing that did stick out to me that I do remember from that first cruise was that the food was really good. There wasn't a ton to do because it was a jazz themed cruise, but I do remember that the food was really good. With that being said, going into this cruise, I was excited to go on it because I felt like even though that was celebrity, I was on a celebrity ship. I wasn't getting the full celebrity experience because it was a chartered uh, cruise. It was a jazz themed cruise, so I was getting that. I wasn't quite getting a celebrity, even though celebrity was the ship that they were on. Now I could get an actual celebrity cruise, and I'm gonna kind of mention too how I came about this. So my dad goes to Greece twice a year since my mom died. He goes in the fall time and he goes in the springtime. Generally, It's one of the better times to go because the weather isn't as hot. There is less people there, and prices to go back and forth airlines are a little cheaper than it is to go during the summertime. So he likes to go springtime, fall time. Um, Years ago, we were able to go, and I even did podcast about my experiences on some of the Greek islands, as well as we went on a cruise on Celestial. I've had podcasts on those, so feel free to check those out. And after that, I didn't think I was going to be able to go back to Greece. Um, but my dad, he likes to tell many people about it, see who'd like to go. He was telling somebody last summer about it. They end up not being able to go. But as he was telling them, and this was at a big venue, somebody else, other friends heard about it, heard him talking about it, and they got interested. And somebody else overheard him, and they got interested as well. And ended up that those people that overheard him were the ones that ended up going, and not the ones that he actually talked to. Um, Kind of funny how that worked out. So there was altogether 9 of us on this, and I had set it up for them. I booked everyone's cabins, and my dad had someone that was going to be with him in his cabin. They were going to be like roommates, but that that individual wasn't able to go. And it was one of these things I kind of just thought, well, there's probably a lot of ducks in a row to have to get to make it so I could go too, but I'll look into it just to see. And as time went on, the ducks just kept falling into place where it ended up being that I could actually go and make it with him on this. It was just me though. Selena was at home. She was cool about it. Even though I was going to be gone a couple weeks, but she was cool about it. She understood. She was fine. She was happy for me, and that's the kind of wife I have. She's a pretty awesome wife in that regards. And there was times in our marriage in the past that she went away to visit her family for a couple weeks in California, and so it's not like we haven't been in this kind of position before. Um, and so she was cool with it, so I was able to go. Again, there was 9 of us all together. There was me and my dad. We roomed together. There was a family, a husband, a wife, and their daughter that had one room. And then their other daughter and son-in-law came as well as another couple, separate family. Altogether, we had 9 of us. And going to Greece, uh, that husband, wife, daughter, me, and my dad, we were all on the same flight. We went through Boston on Delta to get to Athens. We flew out on a Wednesday, but because of the time, they're 7 hours ahead of us here in the Eastern time zone. By the time we get there, it's Thursday morning. We get there, spend the day in Athens, getting hotels and food and whatever. And then our cruise leaves the next day, which was on Friday. And it was a 10-day cruise, so we didn't come back until the following Monday. Um, and like I said, only 2 days at sea. 10-day cruise, only 2 days at sea. We were pretty much at ports most of the time, and that's how I got to go on it. And the fact that someone wasn't able to go with them, and I was able to fill in for that guy and be able to enjoy it. And glad that I did. Not only, I mean, I love cruises. That's definitely one thing. Uh, but it's also a way to be able to get another experience with celebrity and have a clearer understanding of what their brand is all about. Um, and so there's a work purpose now too when I go on a cruise to be able to understand them, research them, see what they're all about, so I know what I can sell and um, know what I can tell you about it if you do ask about it. And I got to say, I actually ended up leaving pretty impressed with Celebrity, and I will get into that. Good cruise line, definitely a good cruise line. Definitely had a good time with them. So, anyways, we get there, and it was one thing that was kind of interesting. So, we were all at the same hotel for the first night. Well, I should say all of us. Um, the ones that flew in together, me, my dad, that family of 3, their daughter and son-in-law, as well as that other couple, they flew in day of. and then just were able to get the shuttle service through Celebrity. And I wasn't sure how that was going to work out. There was a little me that was nervous because you just never know, especially in a different country. But it went smooth as butter. We ended up catching up with them once we got on the ship. I was happy that worked out pretty well for them. So just FYI, when it comes to shuttle services, the cruise line does usually, not all of them, but usually does have like a shuttle service that you can pay for. It's usually like one way per person is X amount of dollars from whatever airport to the port, vice versa. Um, but we were already there. My dad, he's got a cousin and his wife that live out there. He always kind of stays with them. We've stayed with them too. And but we didn't stay with them. The first night though, we were at a hotel. Um, and then the time that we had for check-in was a little later than the friends that we were with, so they ended up getting on. They were already there and on the ship by the time we got there, which was fine. I was just glad, and this was going to be their first cruise, and I love being with someone that it's their first cruise because then all the joy and excitement and things that I feel towards cruise lines and the things that to me make it amazing vacation, I get to see on their faces and see their expressions, and it's the raw emotion of being able to experience it and how wonderful the cruise is, and I can see it on their face and get their reactions to it. I love that. So I was glad that that was the case. I was hoping to be able to go on with them because the boarding process can be a little tricky, a little difficult sometimes. It's not impossible, but if your first time ever going on a cruise and you can go with someone that has been on it, they can kind of walk you through it and hold your hand through the process. Again, it's not impossible. If you do it on your own, that's okay. It's not rocket science. It's just getting on a ship. But there's little things here and there that can, if someone's done it before, it might make it a little easier for you. That's all. But everything worked out fine as I mentioned. Once we eventually got there, they were already on. Cool. Um, so my dad's cousin, I guess he's my cousin too, technically, picked us up and drove us over to the ship. What was now this was kind of odd, as some kind of rule in Greece. Um, they wouldn't let him drop us off at the ship. If you were a shuttle service, if you were a cab, a bus, they would let those go up to the ship. But for just a regular pedestrian car, they weren't letting that go up to the ship. Why? Who knows? No idea why. Some odd rule. And so we got dropped off. They were kind of trying to talk to the woman that was preventing us. Let's say arguing with them, because sometimes in Greek it could sound like an argument, but it's not, just people talking. Uh, but she wasn't budging. So I was like, all right, I'm about to inhale a lot of food here. I can take a few extra steps. It's okay. Didn't bother me. It was a nice day out too. Greece has very nice weather. If you've never been, if you beautiful weather, beautiful scenery too. Oh my goodness. Anyways, we get dropped off. We walk up there. We got our bags and we're dragging, and it was no problem in all honesty. The check-in process was. I mean, it took a little bit of time because we had to go. We checked in and then had to go sit and wait a little bit until they called our row, and then we went in. But all in all, it was not difficult at all. We get on, and now this one is kind of the old tradition one. You get a little room key card. We got and we didn't get it when we checked in. We actually it was at the cabin at the door. Um, and we got there. Obviously, we went into the room and we had an interior cabin. So I took some pictures. Um, what an interior cabin looks like. Pretty standard uh, for what it is. And we got to look around a little bit of the cruise ship as well. Um, uh, the first few days, usually when you get on it, you're still kind of you're learning where everything is, the layout of the land, so to speak. That's why it amazes me that some people, I mean, not that it's bad, it can be a fun little weekend getaway. There's cruises that are 3 or 4 days long, and I'm thinking by that time you finally understand the ship and where everything is. Now it's time to go. Once you finally settle in and know everything. But we had 10 days, so we had plenty of time to get to know the ship, which we did walk around and get to. We saw our friends. We went and one of the things we love to do is go eat. So we went to eat at the buffet, and we met our friends there. We saw our friends there. Ended up eating together for a while and just waiting for the ship to take off. And from there, we were heading up north towards Thessaloniki. That was going to be our first stop. I will talk about Thessaloniki in another podcast. I'm not going to talk about the stops on this one. I'm just talking about the actual cruise itself. Uh, yeah, so yeah, the cabin, standard interior cabin. Nothing that really stood out to me as anything unique with it. Um, Typical things such as a little mini fridge and TV and desk. It did have a chair. It was interesting. The one that my dad had actually could hold 5 people, and the chair that they had actually could unfold and be that fifth one, in addition to the 2 beds below and the 2 beds that could drop down from above to make it 5. There was no need for us to be able to have that. We didn't need it. There was only 2 of us. Sometimes cruise lines, when I worked with Carnival, I remember they were really strict. If it can hold 5, it has to be 5, or if it holds 3, you got to have 3 or whatever. Like you had to do whatever the number is. They sometimes can be very strict with that. Um, but when I booked this for my dad, it wasn't. Cool. All right. He needed a room for 2. This was available. It could fit 5, but they weren't being strict about it. All right. So we had 2 people in a 5-man room. I'm not necessarily recommending that. Two grown adults, men. That was enough. That was tight enough. If you try to fit a third or fourth or God for a fifth, you can do it. But just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. If you have 4 people in your party, think about getting 2 separate rooms, 2 and 2. The family that had 3, she did sleep on that chair. She was fine with it. The daughter was fine with it, but there was some times that it could be a little tight. Maybe they left the room to give her a little more space to get ready or whatever. It can be a little tight. They're not the biggest rooms. I mean, at least in regards interior. If you're willing to get a suite, some of those mega suites, okay, you'll have more room if that's in your budget. Um, but if possible, if you have more than a couple people, it's probably best to get maybe two rooms. All right, the ship itself. Oh well, let me continue talking about just the experience. So yeah, we went there. It was 10 days. We had 2 days at sea. Very nice cruise. Got to see some beautiful things. When we got back, we ended up the daughter and son-in-law went back immediately, and the rest of us stayed in Greece for at least 2 more days. We came back on a Monday. Me and that family of 3 went back on Wednesday. We got to see Athens. We took a tour of Athens on Monday after we got picked up. We rented like a tour guide, bus, van, whatever you want to call it. Uh, and that was excellent. And then the next day did the same thing. We went to some other places in Greece. So came back on Wednesday. That other couple was coming back on Friday. My dad was staying for a couple weeks. Um, and I'll talk about that another time too. Yeah, the ship itself. Let's get into the ship itself. Not the most hugest ship in the world, and I'm right now I'm going to be kind of referring to it the Celebrity Infinity because that's the one I just got off of, and that's going to kind of. But again, they're the same ship. They're sister ships. So you talk about one, you're basically talking about the other one. And it's not like it's a gigantic ship. I think it holds anywhere between 2 to 3,000 people. I don't think we were completely full either, so there was room to breathe. I didn't feel like I'm cramped with a lot of people or had super long lines to wait with. I don't think it felt cramped at all. Yeah, and there was uh, there was stuff that I probably didn't take advantage of before that I did this time, such as the gym. They had a nice gym. A lot of gyms on ships are kind of like usually in the front. That way that you can kind of see out the windows while you're working out. That was the case with this. They had the treadmills up front, right by the window. The treadmills also had the screens where you could, I don't know, walk through a lake or walk through like walk around a lake or San Francisco or whatever. You could put that on, or you could look out and see the nice blue water and enjoy that view. I did go to the gym a few times, and I'm glad I did because last time I went on a cruise when I was on a Virgin, I hardly did any of that, and I was kind of regretting it a little bit. So I made a little bit more conscious effort to work out a little bit more. So if I'm going to be inhaling as much food as I did, although I was trying to be conscious of that as well because there was a lot of good food. I'll get into the food eventually too. But they had a gym which had the a lot of treadmills. There was a little section that had free weights, a little section. They had a big open floor area where they would do classes for stretching and yoga and things like that. And then they had a smaller one as well that were, I think, for another class. And then they had a bunch of machines that were used. And it was also not far from the beauty salon. You kind of walk past the beauty salon in order to get to the gym. And in between, they had these three things of water. One was like a regular water, but then the other two would have some kind of cut up fruit in it, whether it was oranges or cucumbers, limes, whatever. They had that, which was nice. That was complimentary. And not far from it was also the spa. I didn't go in the spa. Um, I'm not a spa guy, but there's some people that are. And they had the spa that was not too far. And then from the spa, and that was up on deck. What deck was that? 10? I think it was deck 10. Um, Altogether, there was like 12 decks, but even one of them wasn't a deck that went through the whole ship. It was just a certain part of it where like the sports was. But anyways, that was on deck 10, and then from there you could go out, and there was an enclosed pool that was part of that spa, and there was an enclosed pool along with a couple hot tubs. One time I went out there, I wasn't even going. I was just going through it because further on down the deck, you have to go outside, but a little bit further down on that same deck was the buffet. And we were going there. One guy, it was I think early in the morning. He's in there by himself, and he's sitting in the hot tub, chilling, eating fruit. I'm like, all right, cool, good for him. I come back and the other afterwards. I come back and through the same guy's there. He's on his laptop. I'm like, this man knows how to vacation. He is just sitting, chilling in a hot tub, eating some fruit, being on his computer. I forgot I was just watching something. Like this guy knows. And there was like some sort of bar there, not an alcohol bar, more like a fruit stand type of bar where you could get some fruit or smoothie. You could buy a smoothie or a juice or something like that. That was kind of part of that enclosed pool because I think that was part of the spa, but you didn't have to be doing something in the spa in order to go in there. You could go in there. In fact, I remember going in there, not this trip, but on the Summit on on the jazz cruise. Me and my family went in there one time. It was evening time. No one was there, which was nice. And when I say enclosed, you could look up and you would see glass. So if it's, I don't know, raining or some kind of bad weather, it's kind of nice to be in there. You could still swim without having to worry about the elements or it being maybe too hot from the sun. Um, and then if you go back and then if you kept going with it, you went outside. Now you're in the deck area with the pool, and they had hot tubs as well. Um, I I guess that could be the heartbeat. I always think, where is the heartbeat? Like on Carnival, the deck is obviously the heartbeat of it, and I guess they could be that. Did they do a lot of activity? They did. Even though I wasn't a part of it, they did do it. But there was also an area inside that spanned decks three, four, five, the Grand Foyer area, which they had some stuff as well. Anyways, so yeah, there was your obvious pools and hot tubs, bars, the typical thing. And some people love to be out there. You'll see them sunbathing all day long. I like walking through it. It's kind of cool to see, but I'm not really a pool guy. I'm not really a be in the sun all day kind of guy either. So I wasn't really there. Every now and then I might sit, but I don't feel like fighting with people for chairs and uh, all that stuff. Anyway, and if you kept going past that, that was all kind of in the front of the ship. And I'm kind of like moving backwards here on deck 10. Um, as you go towards the middle of the ship, now you can go inside and go to the buffet. Um, it was called the Ocean View Cafe. Um, I guess they all Royal Caribbean, which is their sister company, is they named their buffet. I think it's Windjammer. I think that's what they call it, and others might name something else if they even have a name at all. And the buffet from that midpoint kind of extends all the way to the back. It's a pretty good sized buffet. Um, that has I want like on one side you have ice cream when you get in there. The other side of it, because you could go in like one or two ways, and then from there you could meet it in the middle, but you could just keep going straight too, and all the stuff would be on the inside of it. But yeah, one side of it had ice cream, the other side was like a bar, and then you could go to the other side from there, and you'd see the drinks as well as they had like sweets area in the front there, um, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then a bunch of other food just that wrapped around. There was on one side they would have um, Indian food, different Indian foods every day. On the other side, they had a carvery, Mexican area. Go down further, pasta. Um, and then if you were back on this side, past the Indian, there was what else did they have? Regular food. Go down a little ways, there was a pizza area. There was a break kind of in the middle, so it wasn't like it was all food. There was a break in the middle as you went to the back. You know, pizza on the one side, pasta on the other, and then in the back again where you can kind of come around to it. You could even go eat outside if you wanted. They had a grill back there, and at night, um, they would open it up and have like late night snacks there. The grill there, I remember when I was on Summit for the Blue Note at Sea one, they had fish, chicken, and steak. I could get steak every day for lunch. I thought that was awesome. But I didn't see steak this time. Now, granted, I wasn't always there for lunch. For the times that I was, I don't recall seeing steak there. But they had other stuff there. And in the morning, you could go back there, get an omelet. They had other areas where you could get an omelet, but you could get an omelet made or any kind of eggs. They had waffles, pancakes, French toast back there, some fruit, all kinds of stuff. And at night, usually they would have more fruit like melon, pineapple. I got to eat a lot of pineapple on this. I love pineapple. It's my favorite fruit. I don't eat it that much. I eat fruit and I love fruit. But if it's a lot of work, I don't really deal with it. Like an apple I can grab and eat, a banana I could peel, even an orange I could cut up. But like as much as I love pineapple, a lot of work to get to a pineapple. A lot of watermelon, melon, pomegranates. There's a lot of work involved. And I just don't feel like it. But if it's cut up and it's there, yeah, I'll have at it. So there, I got to eat a lot of pineapple. Um, but yeah, late night they would have the fruit there. They would have, and they changed it every day too. They would have like these little tiny sandwiches, like little rolls with little sandwich in it. It's not big. Finger foods. You could eat them in two or three bites. And usually they would have about three different options of those. And then they also have like little cakes for pastry dessert. They would have every night maybe three or four different of those as well, and other things too. I just didn't eat them, but those are the things that always stood out in my mind. And those late night snacks. The pasta bar was open usually at night as well as the pizza. At the pasta bar, you could get um, they had they would make it for you, and they had a few different types of pastas. Usually, I stuck with just like the regular spaghetti, but they also had like penne and something else. They always had a thing of baked pasta as well. You could just scoop that up, but then you could ask whatever pasta you wanted, and then from there, whatever if you wanted Alfredo sauce, marinara, whatever else they had, bolognese, and then whatever you wanted in it. They had all kinds of things. I mainly stuck with chicken, like chicken Alfredo. Not that I got it a ton, maybe a couple times, but they had meatballs and all kinds of different vegetables and other whatever other meats they may have had. So that was kind of nice. And then you tell them they would make it fresh for you, maybe 5 minutes or so, however long it took. And you would have a nice, delicious bowl of pasta. So that was all back there. That was all part of the uh, buffet area there on deck 10. If you went upstairs to deck 11, um, well, at least from the buffet, you could go up to deck 11. You could sit around and look down at the pool area. If you went up even another deck, a little bit closer to the back, they had the rooftop terrace up there, and then there was a basketball court up there. That basketball court obviously did have basketball in it, but they did use it for other things too. You could play pickleball on it. I saw guys playing pickleball. They had little tiny soccer nets that you could play soccer in. And they would even have during some of the activities that celebrity would host, they did a few different sports things. And apparently I missed it because I was on an excursion, but they did a hockey one too. And I was bummed that I missed it. We came in a little later from the excursion. I would have had a chance if we got there on time, but because we came in late, I missed it, so I didn't get to do it. Uh, but whatever. Anyways, but yeah, they had the basketball court there. I'll talk a little bit more about activities in a bit. Um, so that was on deck. That was technically deck 12, but that was just that little section of the ship. On deck 11, same kind of thing. It did span more. You could still walk across. If you went towards the front of the ship, they had what was called the Constellation Lounge. The Constellation Lounge, they did a lot of different activities there. Anything but from trivia to different game shows to parties that they had in there. I actually ended up spending a lot of time in that Constellation Lounge. I do remember that lounge when I was on Blue Note of the Sea. I remember going in there to hear the comedian, maybe even listen to some music, but I didn't spend a ton of time in there because, again, it was all jazz, and I don't mind jazz, but I'm not passionate, a huge fan of it that I'm going to love every single thing that I'm listening to for 7 days in a row. Uh, but on this cruise, I went in there quite a bit for a lot of different things. So those type of things stood out to me. Now there's other, let's see, okay. So now deck three started what they had was called the Grand Foyer. And the Grand Foyer was kind of more in the middle of the ship. There was the elevator was there. We when we got onto the ship, we were on the gangway was on deck one, and then from there you're like right in the middle of the ship. There's an elevator that can go up to deck 10 or 11. I think if you went to 11 though, you were at the restaurant. But anyway, so that was that Grand Foyer that started on deck three. That was to me a little bit more of the central area. You could take that staircase up to deck four, but it was kind of open where deck three, deck four, and deck five could all kind of be seen in that view. Even though the staircase didn't connect to deck five, if you got off the staircase and went forward, there was the regular staircase that connected all the decks. You could go up there, so that was easy to do it. But in that whole area, um, that staircase only went from three to four, but it was open enough where you could see everything. Deck three had where we were on deck three. They had the guest service that's right in front of that staircase. So if you were to walk down, you're looking straight forward. You're seeing the guest services, and just around the corner of it, they also had the shore excursions as well. Um, on deck four, they had another a martini bar there. The casino was like butted up against it, and what else do they have? They have, that was the martini bar, and then maybe another on the other side, maybe another area to sit. And then on deck five, they had a cafe bar area, I guess you could say. That now at that cafe, I don't think they had alcohol, but they did have specialty coffee that you could buy from there, and they had a display of different desserts and pastries that was complimentary. I love that, and I do think I remember that from Blue Note at Sea from before. Virgin had that as well, something similar, not exact, but something similar where you see this glass case, you see a bunch of things in it. I'll take one of this, and this. Here you go. That's yours. No cost. Love that. That cookies, and they would have those little sandwiches there too. In fact, the first when we got on there, that was one of the first things I saw was this little cafe area, and the guy behind it, he was really nice, and I saw these different good-looking pastries and stuff, and I'm like, all right, sweet, this is awesome, literally sweet. Uh, I can't remember what I got the first time, but anyway, that was there, and then across from it, on the other side was gelato. That wasn't complimentary. You had to pay for that. I never got it. They had complimentary ice cream up in the buffet. Not to mention, you could get it usually when you're in the dining room, anyways. So all that is like decks 3, 4, and 5. It's an open area, the Grand Foyer area. Um, Pretty nice area to hang out. They would play music there. They did different shows there. I don't want to say shows, but music. Yeah, music shows, I guess. There's a silent disco there. Um, So that was a nice area. So that was decks 3, 4, and 5. And somewhere, never went there, there was a library that you could go to. There was the picture area. I walked through a couple times, an art area. They had all those type of typical things. A casino I walked through. I don't gamble, but I had to walk through it because on decks 4 and 3, or excuse me, 4 and 5, yeah, was the theater, the main theater. And so a couple times I had to walk through the casino to get to the theater. And that was up front. That's kind of typical as well. Let's see here. Was there anything else that was on the ship that stood out that I could talk about as regards? Yeah, in the back. Yeah, if you went towards the back of the ship on those decks, deck 4 or 5, they would have maybe another type of lounge area. I know the sushi place was connected to one of the lounges. You kept going past that, you would eventually get to the main dining room. The main dining room was on decks 4 and 5. Um, Deck 4 was for like anytime dining. Deck 5 was for early and late dining. We had early dining, 6 o'clock. We all ate together at the same table. That was really nice, all 9 of us. So we always went to deck 5 for that in the back there. Um, there was, but not far from it, there was a sushi place. There was a Tuscan grill that was kind of in that area, but on the other side. Looked good, just never tried it. Uh, yeah, so that was that. So not like overly big fancy ship as regards water slides and mini golf and things like that. But not completely too boring either. The first time I went on one, it was all jazz. There wasn't a ton to do. But this time going on it, there was a little bit more activities to be able to be a part of to keep my interest going. And that's what I think I'll talk about next is maybe the activities part of it, which there was quite a bit of activities that they hosted throughout it. I was surprised. I was surprised on numerous things. One of them, I was surprised on uh, the people that were on it. Again, the first time I went, it was all jazz fans that were there. Hard to judge what kind of crowd is going to be was going to be there. I kind of had in my vision, in my mind, a thought of an older crowd, um, and not a lot to do. That was that was what I had in my mind. So my expectations actually were pretty low. So to exceed my expectation, you might be thinking, okay, they weren't that high to begin with, but they did exceed it in a way that I actually came away impressed. Not just being like, oh, okay, that was better than I thought it would be. Yes, no, I actually was still impressed with them as a cruise line and a brand. And their activities were something that was part of it. There was always things going on. They had a ton of different trivias, and their trivias ranged from themed ones like music, 80s, whatever, to just general knowledge ones. And and then it's all over the board. You could have a question that asks something about Pluto, and then the next question is about Batman's butler. All over the board with those ones. Um, but they also did things in ways that would also have a little twist on it as well. Yes, they would do normal trivia, but then sometimes they would also do it in a way that was a little different. For instance, one of the music trivias, and I actually got to be a part of this, which was kind of cool, I guess you could say, a little different. They had one. It was called a murder mystery. Basically, it was a music trivia, but the way that they did it was they had their cast members as well as some guests. They're reading a script and it's telling a story, a murder mystery type of story that happened on a cruise ship. And as you're reading it, or as they were reading it, the crowd is listening. Uh, uh, Something would pop up in the story, and next thing you know, they're playing a song that fits in with what's going on with the story. And that was the way that they did that. Instead of just someone being up there, hear this song, write it down, which they did have that too. This had a different spin to it. And the thing that I got to be a part of with that was they asked me to do the sound effects. And so there was times it would come across something, and next thing you know, it says something like the clock was ticking, and I had to make like a click clock noise, or tick tock, or some other kind of noise that was the sound effects of it. Probably it didn't need it. It was just kind of for fun that it was part of it. But to be asked to do it, I enjoy doing it, even though I can't say I'm a professional at that. It was my first time trying to do something with sound effects, but I did my best, and I got a few compliments afterwards. I referenced I was trying to. I don't know if you've ever heard of the show Whose Line Is It Anyway, but in it there's games that they've done where it was sound effects. Some were the audience doing the sound effects of the comedians, and others were the comedians doing sound effects uh, with each other. And I was always pretty funny. The one guy, he was always hilarious with that. I was trying to channel my inner uh, that comedian. I don't know if I can say his name or not. I don't know when it comes to copyright and all that stuff. People want their names out there. I don't know, so I'm just not gonna say. But anyways, uh, I got to do that. I did. There was other trivia. Not everyone in our party of nine went to trivia. Sometimes it would be just me. Sometimes it'd be me and another friend. Sometimes we did have a handful of people. It always varied. But they had different ones of those. And then they had different games too. Some were sports related. They had like a soccer shootout, a hockey one that I missed. They had a basketball one, which I did participate in that. And this was kind of a, a fun little story with me. There was quite a lot of guys that were playing, and it was kind of like a game of around the world. And it was doing 3 pointers. Basically, if you've ever seen a 3 point shootout, there's like 5 different spots where the basketball is or the hoop is. You got the two on the edges, the two on the corner, and then one straight. And and if you've ever played around the world, you got to hit all the spots. You could take a chance, but if you take a chance and miss it, you go back to the start. Whatever. And your goal is to get all of them, be the first one to get all of them. And that's what we were doing. So we were doing 1 through 5 and then back. That's ultimately you were doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 shots. You're making 9 shots because you didn't you just started going backwards. So there was that corner one that you didn't get 2 shots at. Anyway, um, there was this one young kid. I don't know where he was from, but I was watching him play basketball. He obviously had some talent, and he was pretty good. Whether he plays on a team in his high school or whatever, I don't know. But he was a pretty good player. Well, he gets in, and a couple guys went first. I don't even think they made anything. Maybe they made one, and then he gets on it, and he makes like 6 in a row. And I'm thinking, all right, well, he's going to win this thing more than likely. We're not going to have a chance. But he got stuck in that corner for the longest time. And I'm basketball is not my top sport. It really isn't. I was struggling. I did make one, got to the second one, and it took a while. No one was winning the thing, and I tried chancing it, didn't make it. Had to go back to start. I'm like, all right, gonna do that. Well, it was taking so long that the guy that was hosting it finally um, was like, all right, everyone, you can take your chance. You're not gonna go back to start. I think he's trying to finish it up because it was taking longer than it was supposed to be. And at one point, I got back to the second spot, and then I hit a hot streak on one of them. I went one, two, three, four in a row. Three, one, two, three, four in a row. Yeah, and got towards coming back around the second, and then again I hit one, two, three in a row to get to that last one. So and I came back, and that kid at that point got to the second to the last, and then another guy who was draped in Bills stuff. I thought he was from Buffalo. No, he was from Nashville, but he was a Bills fan. I guess he was a Bills fan before Tennessee Titans existed. Anyways, he was there. He ended up winning the thing, but I came in second. I came so close. I got to that last shot and I missed it. And but the fact that I came in second and beat that kid, I was like on cloud nine. And there was this family that I was in the elevator with as I was heading. I was late for dinner because of it. They were a nice family. Um, there was a family of three, and their daughter and her roommate they were all together, and we kept seeing them and talking with them later on. But that was my first interaction with them was in that elevator. I was just all happy on cloud nine, like because I'm a sports guy, and the fact that I'm not even that great at basketball and came in second and beat that kid who started off so hot. I uh, I was really excited about that. So that was one of the things I got to do. There was another one that I got to try. It was archery, um, and it was like guests versus the crew, which I thought was a little unfair because the crew can do it every week. We don't. We get one shot at it. It's not like we have practice. So crew won. What a shot! But I did get to shoot it a couple times. I didn't hit the target. One of my friends got to do it when we got back. They did it a couple times, I guess, and she did it when we had just got back from being out port and no one was there. It was only her and another person. So she got to do it a few times, multiple times, and eventually hit something. I wasn't there for it. She told me about it. I was like, oh, okay, good for you. And they would give out prizes. So uh, one of the activities, I was able to get this shirt, and I was pretty excited about it because I was gonna buy a celebrity shirt for the podcast, but when you win one, cool. So I got this. It doesn't say celebrity on here though. It's like a coral reef, but it makes you look like lungs. And it says see, breathe, live. See as in SEA. Breathe, live. I think it's some kind of promotion for something. On the side though, I keep trying to show it. It does say celebrity cruises here with the little panda from what is that? WWF World. I forget what that stands for, but anyways. But based on the activities, I was able to get the shirt, so I was pretty happy about that. And then there was other things too. Like I said, they had different types of trivia's, and there had, and I didn't realize how much they had until at the very end on our last night, last production show. Right as it finished, the cruise director, that I'd never seen this before, ended up playing a video, and a video that showed like highlights of many different things that went on during this 10-day cruise. And I thought that I was a part of it. I was there for a lot of games and activities, but there was still a lot of stuff I missed. There was dance classes. I watched one dance class, but they had multiple dance classes. They had Tai Chi, they had water aerobics, they had water Olympics, all kinds of things. As I'm watching that video, I'm like, wow, there was a lot of activity, and that was something that I did not expect that. I, uh, I expected an older crowd, and it was not an older crowd. It was actually a good mixture of people. I would say it did lean a little older than me, 50s to 60, but it wasn't 70s, 80s, 90s as the majority of people. They had a mixture of everybody, and there was actually quite a decent amount of kids and teenagers that I didn't expect to see that were there too. So it was a wide variety of people, and they did have things for the kids and teenagers. Most cruise ships do. Um, so I wasn't expecting that as a crowd, but it was, and I wasn't expecting a lot of stuff to do. Just again, based on last time I went, it was all jazz. I wasn't expecting, and they did. They had a ton of stuff to do. That's why I say I leave impressed. I leave impressed that there was something for everyone. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't necessarily like wild party-ish, but it wasn't slow and boring either. There was a good mixture of things to do between activities, between shows, between they did have parties as well. A ton of stuff every day. So I was impressed by that as well. Um, the activities of it, the entertainment. The entertainment, I'll talk about the entertainment. So they did have the main theater there, as I mentioned in the front, and that main theater we had was 10 nights. They had a production show that included singers and dancers. They had four of those shows. Now you're thinking, okay, that's four. It's a 10 night cruise. What else do they have? But that production didn't start right away. The first 2 nights were comedians. There was one comedian that was the headliner the first night. And then the next one, he was a comedian slash magician who did that. He would do some tricks and he was telling jokes as he was doing it, kind of making it funny. It wasn't seeing David Copperfield. It wasn't that type. It was more sleight of hand type of things. Um, but he did it in a funny way. So that was if you, four production shows plus them two, that's six. There was, and this is I'm not saying it all in order. I'm just going off. There was two guys. They were brothers. I think they were from Ukraine that put on some sort of show that I don't know what you want to call it exactly. They played some instruments. They did some acrobatic type of stuff. There was acrobats too that that was in addition to the singers and dancers. There were some acrobats in there, not those guys, but a man and a woman that were part of it. These guys, I don't know if what they were considered was acrobats. They had just kind of unique. So they were one night, and then there was this one lady. She was a vocalist, and she played a lot of different instruments as well as sung. They had her on for 2 nights actually, and then her husband was able to do another night. She was from where was she from? She was Danish. He was Irish, and they had their kid with them. And apparently, Celebrity was the only cruise line that allowed them to be together performing on the same ship, which was like a major blessing for them and their family because they had a 2 year old. Um, and so they could be together as a family, and they just performed on different nights. The husband, um, he had one night in the show, but then he also had the one more show at the very end of the cruise after the production show was done. He had another standalone show of his own in the Constellation Club. And that was pretty fun. So the entertainment was good. The shows were really good. There was four of them. My favorite one, there was a cabaret. Actually, the cabaret did not include dancers at all. You hear that word, I think of like Chicago kind of thing. It wasn't like that. It was all four of them singers, always dressed up nicely. They were covering a lot of different songs. I thought they did really good. The first night, uh, what was the first night called? There was one of those cabaret. One was called Broken Strings. There's a couple others. The first night, I don't remember what it was, but I think the second night really got to highlight the singers. Um, and then there was other lounges that would have some live music. There was one. I know there was a guy that played the guitar and sang. I could hear him as I was going to dinner because I'd have to pass by that lounge. He was in there. There was an orchestra. When I say orchestra, no, not an orchestra. I'm sorry, that's the wrong word. Band. I want to say band. There was a band that played a lot in the theater with had a guitarist, bass player, drummer, saxophone, horn, piano. or keyboard, I should say. They played a lot together with the production, as well as those the husband and wife in their shows. They would play. And one thing that I did appreciate, they got a lot of credit. Like the production, or the singers, the vocalists, they would constantly be turning around, give a round of applause to the band. The cruise director, a lot of times, they shouted out the band a lot, and the band did play, I think, on other things too. And there was a few other type of musicians, and I just maybe not have heard them. There was some other DJs that would play. One of the activities I mentioned, there was a silent disco. If you, I don't know if you know what a silent disco is, but you go there and you get headphones and you put on the headphones and you can hear the music only through the headphones. Everyone's hearing the same song, so it's not coming over a loudspeaker, but everyone's dancing to it, and it's on your headphones. I went there to watch. I don't dance. I did get one. I kind of put it up to my ear, and uh, it was kind of fun. They were kind of doing like a battle of the DJs. And there was two DJs as well as the cruise director that participated in this. And there's three different colors: red, blue, and green. I think were the three different colors. So you could turn which channel, and whatever DJ was playing, you could listen to it and dance along. And at the end, whoever got the biggest cheer, what you enjoyed, won the thing. That was pretty fun to be a part of. Um, Again, I didn't dance it, but to be able to watch it, I like watching dancing or listening to it. I'm not the biggest musically inclined guy in the world, but I do enjoy it. So being able to sit and watch and listen is fun. I did mention that they did have dance classes. I did sit in on one. They were doing the samba. That was kind of interesting, kind of fun to watch too. What else was there? Was there anything? I'm sure there was. There was, like I said, a lot of activities, entertainment wise. I guess I'm talking about entertainment, but I guess it kind of go back and forth uh, in regards somewhat interchangeable. The theater was two stories. You could go on one on deck four, but you could go up top on deck five as well. Um, yeah, so that was that. What else? So okay, and then so the food. Let's talk about food. One of my favorite things, as I think I mentioned before, food was something that did stand out to me in the first one that I the first cruise that I went with them. It was pretty delicious. Oh, I remember another activity. There was they had different sing-alongs, like ABBA sing-along, an '80s night. They had a lot of those type of things in the Constellation Lounge, which was almost like party. And then at night they would have like a DJ or something band playing music late. Like they would start at 11:30 and kept going for a few hours. Forgot about that. That was another one. And then there was also an activity that it was kind of unique to me, was that the captain came out and kind of had this like presentation where he talked about um, sailing, I guess you could say. You could talk about how they turned the ship and things like that. It was kind of like a behind the scenes tour a little bit. And even afterwards, he was Greek. My dad got to talk with him, and we had asked him about if it would be possible to come see uh, the control room. I guess that's what it's called. I don't know. And he did. For the next sea day, because that was early in the cruise. The second sea day, he arranged it so that we could go up there. And it was pretty cool to be able to go up there, see the crew that was sailing the ship, and um, all their different equipment that they had. There was one. I mean, it's a great view too. By the way, you could see out. There's like a helipad, and then you could see all the water. Beautiful view. The crew was nice and giving us a little bit of a tour of it, I guess you could say. And they also had this glass where you could look down and you're looking right at the sea. Not for the faint of heart if you want to step on it. It's not going to break. Um, but if you're kind of nervous of heights or nervous of water or something like that, it might not be easy for you to stand on there. I did stand on it a little bit. They had a table of pictures of some of the crew from previous cruise ships. Um, yeah, so that I forgot about those type of things as well. All right, back to food, right? Yeah, food was really tasty. I kind of already gave you a little rundown of the buffet. Out on the deck, the main deck, they also had a burger bar. The burger bar was not bad. I still think, as regards um, my favorite burger at sea is still Guys Burgers on Carnival, and then a close second, even after that, surprisingly enough, is Margaritaville at sea. Their burgers are almost just as good as Guys. So this would be maybe a little bit behind that. Still a decent burger, um, but as regards uh, the burger itself, yeah, I would, like around there. Yeah, I would still give the edge to Carnivals and then Margaritaville at sea. And then, I was thinking about back to entertainment. I still like the entertainment on MSC as regards the dancers. I still give them the top on that. The dancers were pretty good. Well, maybe I'll get into that when I. No, I can mention it now. I go back and forth to say I'm thinking about like in categories of like entertainment activities, but sometimes things can kind of could go in either category. But the dancers were fine. A couple of the dancers took the lead in that one uh, dance class, and there was a move that they were doing that I thought was kind of funny because they call it "I don't like you, I like you," and it's kind of like they're kind of going apart to the point where they're is basically their fingertips are touching, but then they come back together. So she kept saying that, and like as they were going apart, "I don't like you." This is, I guess, how you remember it. But then when you come back together, it's like, "I like you." You do that a couple times. But yeah, the dancers were pretty good, and then two of the singers I thought were pretty amazing. But yeah, as regards dancing, I still give it to MSC. The production shows itself, the dancers, everything top on there. But this was still a good performance, and it was still high quality. High quality. Okay, well, before I was it was food. Yeah, food. So there was the burger bar. The buffet was pretty good. Good amount of stuff. I didn't eat a ton there. I had a few breakfasts there, a couple lunches. We were the first half of the trip. We were always going. I would say the first half of the trip, when we had a little bit later port time or days at sea, we ate at the dining room for breakfast. Second half, when we were constantly getting up early to go, then we ate breakfast at the buffet, and it was fine. Um, Decent enough, I guess. And then we were out for a lot of it. So I didn't get to eat a ton of lunch in there. And dinner, we always went to the dining room. So I didn't have every single meal there, but I got to have enough, I suppose. And it was tasty enough. But the dining room where we had dinner at, and even breakfast was pretty good. But dining room, every dinner I felt like was amazing. So they had on their menu, they had appetizers. There would always be a few that changed, but then there would always be four that were constant every day. You could get a Caesar salad, you could get grilled shrimp, you could get escargot, which was popular amongst my table. I got it a couple times, and I thought it was pretty good enough. But some they got it every day, and French onion soup. That was like four things on the appetizers that were there every single day. And at some point, I got to try all of them, along with some other appetizers that were pretty good too. And then for entrees, they had that changed up as well. But there was three entrees that were always there. There was a broiled salmon, there was a grilled chicken breast, and then there was a seared sirloin steak, which that steak actually was very, very, very good. I got to eat a lot of meat on this cruise. A lot of steak, a lot of meat. Loved it. And what I loved so much about this that I was getting very frustrated with some of the other cruise lines was that they did not cap it. I'd been on a couple recently since COVID that you could get one. If you got more than that, you had to pay. Another one, you could give you two, but more than I hated that. Even though I know I may not have needed it, but just the fact that it was there bugged me a lot. This, I felt like I'm going back to original cruise of what I like. I can go to the dining room, open it up. I'm not seeing prices. I'm seeing whatever I want. I can order whatever I want, however many I want. Not that I am 19 anymore, can order five steaks, but the fact that it's there, I appreciate. And when I would give them my order, yep, take it down. Didn't judge me, didn't question it, didn't. And I got what I wanted. That was great. They had some delicious food, delicious food. My previous cruise I went on was Virgin. I did a podcast on that. I did talk about the food. Please feel free to listen to that if you haven't. I'll give Virgin the top. notch because it was all delicious and they had so many options. I've never been to a cruise line that had as many options as Virgin. But Princess, excuse me, Celebrity, um, Celebrity is food is right up there. If I give the slight notch to Virgin, maybe it's because they just had so many options. Um, Celebrity did have a lot of options too, but not all these different eateries. But their food is amazing. Their food is delicious. And that is one thing I do remember from that first cruise. Like it stood out like, wow, their food is excellent. But then years later, think, was it, or was it just did I not have enough to compare it to? I go back after being on many cruises and compare it. Yes, their food is amazing. They are delicious food. Loved it. Um, Even that steak, it was seasoned so well. Very did I yeah, it was very rare, just like Virgin, very rare that I had something I'm like, ah, this is okay. Everything I was having was pretty much fantastic. Um, and I enjoy being able to try many different things. And they again, I could order the one time when they had lobster on the menu, that was the only time that if you were to get another lobster, they would charge you for that. That was the only time. Other than that, everything, if you wanted two steaks. I had a friend, he loves fishing. He's a big into fish, big into fish. One of the biggest fish guys I've ever known. And he pretty much ordered fish every night. And he would always ask for two. No problem at all. They gave him two. And then when he would order his dessert, they had certain desserts that were there every night too. One of them was apple pie, apple pie a la mode. So it had ice cream. He always asked for two scoops of ice cream. Hey, you're on vacation. Enjoy. That was always on there. Creme brulee was always on there. I remember the first night, there was another one that was like creme brulee, and I got it. Another friend had gotten it, but I thought he got the other thing. So it's like, hey, you want to try this? I'll try that. So we traded it, and it ended up being the exact same thing. We were both eating the exact same thing. We kind of joked about that later on. And then, so yeah, there was the creme brulee. There was the apple pie a la mode that was always there every night. What was the last? I could have swore there was a third one, and it slipped in my mind. What is always on the menu for desserts every night? But then, it was like a piece of chocolate cake. Yeah, which wasn't bad too. So there was some really good desserts. But there was sometimes desserts that were good, and then I would go and on deck five where I mentioned that cafeteria, that coffee specialty area, they had desserts there. I get a piece of cake from there, and they had some really good stuff too. Or that you go up to the buffet and they had little cakes there. They had the ice cream. That was all really good too. The food was amazing on Celebrity. One of my favorite things about going on a cruise is food, and this was one of the things that stood out to me about Celebrity was their food. Um, yeah, so all in all, great cruise. And now I want to get into my shout outs because there were some people on there that as regards the crew that make your cruise memorable, make it enjoyable. Got to give them a shout out. Our cabin steward, his name was Jory, very nice guy, and uh, just very nice guy. He did a great job. Anytime we asked for anything, he was always on top of it. Appreciated him. We're real friendly with him. And then I had mentioned in the cast. So I'll talk about the cast. I didn't get to meet all the cast, but I got to meet some of the cast. Those brothers that did their show, just in brief passing, hello, good job, that type of thing. Um, there was four main singers. There's two guys and two girls. One of the guys, the very first day we got there, and we had to go do our muster drill. He was one of the ones that did our muster drill, I guess you could say. It wasn't too much, just acknowledging, I think, that we were there. I don't know if maybe he scanned something or whatever. I don't know. But we did get to talk to him a little bit. His name was Quinn. He was from Canada. Nice guy, nice young guy. And I was kind of wondering, like, I didn't know it at the time. Like, what do you do here? And then come to find out, he's one of the singers. Um, and he was real nice. So I got to connect with him a little bit. And I don't know. I'm all about connecting with people if I have a connection with you or whatever. That's what I enjoy doing. Obviously, can't get it with everybody, but when I can or whoever I can, I always appreciate that. And that goes for people on the ship. And I'll do that. How are you doing? Where are you from? How long you been here? Get to know. Who's your family back home? All that type of stuff. I love connecting with people, and if I can, cool. So I was able to do that. Nice guy, and he was a good singer. The other singer I met briefly at the very end, and he was fine. I don't even remember his name, to be honest with you. Um, they both did all right. The two women singers, the two lead singers, my goodness, did they have some pipes? I mean, their vocals were outstanding, in my opinion. Um, one girl, she was from Ukraine, Kiev, Ukraine, and the other girl was from, I believe, Amsterdam. I got to meet her first. Her name was Iris, and she was very nice. And one of the things I appreciate, she did have some very good vocals. Um, very pretty young lady, and yet she didn't have an arrogant attitude at all. When we complimented her after the first show, she was she felt it was like she was so humble enough to feel like, well, thank you, like a sincere appreciation for the compliment, not like, "Mhm, yeah, I know." She didn't have any type of air of arrogance to her at all, and I really appreciated that about her. Um, and that was the only time I really got to interact with her. And then and the other girl uh, that was from Ukraine, she was nice. The first, as I was talking to her, she came around. The other girl, Iris, the girl from Ukraine, and I want to say it's like Elena or Lena, something like that. And I feel bad because I think I'm mispronouncing it. Um, she walked by. We didn't get to really talk to her. Um, I was thinking maybe she was a little bit more standoffish, and that's fine. Some people are, whatever. What can you do? But later on, after another show, she was out there, and we did get to talk to her a little bit, and she wasn't standoffish like the first time, or maybe she wasn't even being standoffish before. She was just walking by. But anyways, we did get to talk to her a little bit, and I remember again, I'm about connected. So I just she was from Ukraine. I was like, how how's things going back home? Is everything okay? And she's just like, no, and just my heart just fell for her so bad. Like she had a wrap around her knee too. So I'm like, this poor girl. I mean, she's injured. Her family, who knows what's going on back in at hometown in Ukraine. And here she is, just every night, smiling, putting on a performance. She had so much emotion and passion in her face every time she sung. Um, and she, just, like I said, she had some vocals. They both did. Just highly impressive. And the fact that she could do that while her mind could have been elsewhere, family back in Ukraine, her knees hurt. Um, but she brought it every night. There was four production shows. The first one, I'll be honest, I didn't think that the singers they were there. Nothing really stood out to me too much after the first night. They did a good job. Well, maybe Iris a bit, but that second show, which was the Cabernet one, I felt that it really allowed the singers to really just go all out and showcase their skill. And I was highly impressed with those two girls. They did both did a phenomenal job. So I still, as I mentioned, with MSC, the production cast I thought was one of the best I'd ever seen. I will give them the number one spot, especially Lula. If you've not heard if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to my podcast when I talk about my experience at MSC and how Lula was the best dancer I'd ever seen on a cruise line. So much where I just focused on her. I couldn't keep my eyes off of her and her talent. It was amazing. Um, and their singers were great all around. The whole ensemble, the whole cat, everything was just top notch. Um, but Celebrity, even if it wasn't that, still I thought was a very high quality performance as regards to singing and dancing. Only four shows, but that's understandable. Probably need your time to rest. The other shows were decent too. They were good. Good enough. I not like blown away by it, but still good quality. Nonetheless, they weren't bad. Um, in fact, the Irish guy, his first name was Adam. What was his name? Was it Adam? Adam something. I'm blanking on his name. Anyways, he was really funny. Like he was a good singer and he played the instruments, but he had a lot of humor to him. His wife did have some too, but he was, I thought, a really good cut up. So I just can't think what his name. I'm trying to look through if I have any pictures where I might see what his name was. It was Adam something or another. Her name was Tabitha. His name was oh well. Anyways, um, so I'll give them a shout out, and then the cruise director herself, Edinburgh. That's what it was. Edinburgh. The cruise director herself. Her name was Sarah Leanne. I always just in my mind kept calling her Sarah Lee, like the bread. Um, she was a fantastic cruise director, and I love that she was so high energy. Um, she just was just had it was a ball of life, and it could have been a super long day. In fact, that silent disco, she was competing with those DJs. That was at night after a long day, and she was dancing and partying on with all of them. And I'm like, this girl is like the Energizer Bunny. She just has so much energy and so much passion for what she does that I really enjoyed her as a cruise director, and not over the top. Sometimes a cruise director makes it all about them, and it's like, it's the Jason show. Look at me, and they're over the top with it. She was not. She was high energy without being over the top. She'd come out to introduce a show, be high energy, get the crowd going, and just maybe a minute later, let on with the show. Not all about her, not look at me. And she does have talent. At one point, Tabitha brought her up on her show to have her sing because she did have a singing background. She was a performer before on a cruise ship, before she became a cruise director. And she had a singing background and she did sing and she had a great voice, a wonderful voice, but she didn't go up there and brag about it. She didn't go up there and make it all about her. I really appreciated that about her. She was a great cruise director, so I give Sarah Leanne a shout out as well. And it was her. It was going to be her last cruise on that ship. As we were finishing up, she was finishing up. She was going to go on vacation for a few weeks, and then I think from there was going to get assigned to another cruise ship. Which one I don't remember, but anyways, um, yeah. So just uh, nice experience with her. So I'll give her a shout out. Now, the cruise activities that went on, the archery, the knowledge, the knowledge, the general knowledge, the trivia, um, all those different types of games, sports, all that. There was a handful of people that did those. I think the manager, her name was Christine. I think she kind of managed them all. She was from the Philippines, and she did a great job. She was very nice. Whenever it was her turn, they kind of took turns hosting things. I noticed, and then sometimes they would be all together for if there was a party or something going on, like the ABBA sing along. Um, so she was nice and appreciated her. She always had some good jokes. She handled the crowd well. I thought she managed very well. I guess that's why she's the manager. One guy, his name was Sebastian, who was fairly new to it, and he was kind of more on the quiet side. And I was like, okay, I'm not getting as much connection with this guy. But at the very end, he did do a trivia all by himself, and he threw in a few jokes in there, which I was like, okay, I see a little bit of his personality. Got to go up and talk with him afterwards, and he did open up a little bit, and I thought that was nice. Um, so I was a little pleasantly surprised with him. There was another guy named Yasar who was from Turkey, and super nice guy. Really appreciated him. He was the one that did like basketball, for instance, and people were coming late, and he was still accommodating them. He wasn't turning anyone away. Yeah, he brought them in, let them play too. Was doing his best to keep everything organized. Really nice guy. Um, and then when we went to Turkey, one of our stops was Kusadasi. He got to go and visit his family, go home for the day, come back at the end. And uh, he was really nice. Another one was Dan's, who I thought always had a great sense of humor, always real stylish. And one of the games was getting to know all of them, and it was kind of a trivia. They would put some sort of fact, and then which one of these uh, cruise, which one of this crew is they were talking about, and one of them might be like they hosted MTV in their home country, or they were a pageant coach. Dan's was a pageant coach, stuff like that. And I really appreciate when I got to talk to him. He was always on when he was in front of the crowd. You have to be, right? You have to be on. He was always on, and he would be making a lot of jokes. He was a funny guy. But then when I got to talk with him, my dad too, I think was around. We got to talk to him on a one-on-one basis a little bit more. He was willing to open up and talk about his experience of getting on the cruise ship and getting the job and other things that kind of go on behind the scenes a little bit when it comes to stuff I didn't quite know about. Like they have their like agents, that type of thing that kind of make it all possible for him and stuff like that. And I was like, all right. So I really appreciated that. Really nice guy. Got to connect with him a lot. Enjoyed him. Definitely give him a shout out. And then the last one I'll mention is Luisa, who there was a story with this one that I guess I'm saving it somewhat best for last in a way. Uh, she was from Brazil, and I she was one of the last ones I think I met out of all of them. She came to do trivia on one of them, and as they were what's the word when they were going from transitioning, they were transitioning from one activity to another activity. The first one dealt with music, and they were transitioning from that to trivia, which she was going to be hosting. So she came in, she was setting up, she was setting up right by the table I was at. So I ended up getting to talk with her for a bit. Super nice, had a lot in common, loved to travel. Some of the things that she loves about her job, traveling, being around other people, um, was the same things that I loved about being a flight attendant. I love being able to travel. I love being able to serve people and those connections with people. And the common theme here is you keep hearing me talk about it. Um, and so I was like, all right, cool. Well, I got that in common. And talked with her then, did the trivia, all that stuff. Later on, she hosted something else or whatever. And so at one point, here's where I'm getting into the story now. At one point, she was coming by, and I was like, oh, hey, I went to like kind of give her like a little bit of a hug because I hug everybody. I just and I was in Greece. They hug and kiss everybody. So that's just in my nature. Um, but here in the States, they don't really. People don't kiss. I like that anyways. That friendly kiss on the cheek kind of thing. That no one does that here. Anyway, so we did that, but she kind of like, I don't know, didn't want to hug. I don't know, whatever. And then I was like, what the place? And that kind of hurt me deep down inside. That it was like, I the first time I met her, a band member came, gave her a kiss on the cheek. She hugged the cruise director, so she's not averse to affection. Um, so I'm like, was it me then? Maybe. Okay, that stinks if that's the case. So I was like kind of hurt, and I was upset too in a way. I'm like, I'm laughing and smiling about it now, but back then I was not happy at all. Um, and I in my mind I'm thinking I'm probably taking this way too personal, but I don't like that. Whatever. So I kind of like continued on. I was kind of annoyed and frustrated with that. I'm like, well, in my mind I'm thinking, yeah, whatever with her. So I think it was the next night I saw her walking by, and she kind of gave like a oh hello kind of thing, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. And I just moved on. Louisa, you may even be listening to this. You may not even had any idea what was going on. You were just doing your work, and here I am with my own personal things going on. But I was like frustrated, and I just was like, yeah, okay, whatever, and just moved on. And then I went to that silent disco thing, and she was there, kind of helping out. She wasn't one. It was the cruise director and the two DJs, and then her and Dan's were there with the headphones, giving it to people. People give them back, they clean them off, that type of thing. And I wasn't far from her, and I was kind of doing where I was just listening with one ear, but observing the rest with the other. And she's like, "You're supposed to wear them." I'm like, I don't want to wear them. I'm not dancing. I don't want to wear them. Anyways, so I was still kind of like I was. still kind of miffed about everything. And and then this older lady comes up to her, and she's talking, she's talking, and I see on her face like the most, Louisa, the most concerned look on her face. And she's talking with her for a good, I don't know, 20 minutes maybe. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, because my love of people is now moving me to go find out, is this lady okay? Like, you've had this concerned look on your face for the longest time now as you were talking to her. And so I know I'm a little miffed, but let me. So I went up to her. It's like, everything okay with that woman? And she's like, yeah, she's a widow, and she just lost her husband recently in the last maybe couple of years. I can't remember the time frame. She just lost her husband. They used to dance a lot, so being here was very hard for her, and she just needed someone to talk to, someone to grieve to. And then my heart just melted for Louisa after that. I'm like, oh, this wow. I mean, they're in the middle of a party like atmosphere. You have a job with all this, and here you are, just listening so empathetically to this woman. I'm like, ah, just my heart melted. I'm like, this is a beautiful woman inside and out. What am I getting upset about? Is of a hug that maybe she didn't even know I was. I don't know. And so after that, I was like, this is a wonderful woman. I'm not mad at her anymore. And then my dad was there. We ended up all talking for a bit. She was actually going to have the day off the next day, and we were going to show her around Santorini a little bit. But then she ended up having to work, so that didn't work out, which was fine. Whatever, things happen. But she was super nice, super friendly, and whatever little bit of myth that I got from that just went away. And when I saw what kind of a person she is, uh, then it was like, no, I can't be upset about her anymore. And then later, I think I even asked, like, when I saw her again, my initial reaction is to give someone a hug, someone that I emotionally connect with, uh, male or female. I will give you a hug. If, for those of you that know me, I probably hugged you a million times. But then I step back for a moment, like, are you okay with the hug? Because some people aren't, and I have to remember not everyone's okay with the hug. She's like, yeah, okay. So there was that. Oh, bunch of ado about nothing, Jason. Anyways, but I will give her the biggest shout out of her. They're all great, but that just when I saw her again, just for 20 minutes, just sympathetically listen to this older woman grieve to her, and it wasn't no fakeness at all. It was just sincere compassion towards this woman. I just, all right, I'm giving her the biggest shout out of all. She was the best out of all of them. I still got to do a survey and say everything to everybody. I don't know. I did give my card to some of these. You may be listening to these shout outs. And if you know, you guys all did a great job. And whether or not I'll ever get to see any of you guys again, I don't know. But they did a wonderful job. All in all, I had a great time on Celebrity. Um, the first time I went was okay. And it was just because it was all jazz. I'm not a jazz guy. If it was the very next cruise after that, I think was it 80s or 90s, I would have known more of the music. I would have probably enjoyed that a little bit more. I am not against jazz. I don't mind jazz, but I'm not diehard. I couldn't tell you any musician or anything. So the first time was probably one of my if you have to rank them, one of the least ones that I've ever enjoyed. The food was great, but as regards because there's that much to do. But this time, now that I actually got to see what Celebrity has to offer, I'm like, they're a great cruise line. They have a lot of activities, a nightlife, great shows, amazing food. We saw fantastic views. Now that's not anything to do with Celebrity, but it just was part of the trip. And I got to enjoy it with uh, my dad as well as seven other friends. Had a fantastic time, and the fact that again, Selena was cool with me going just goes to show you what a wonderful wife she is, and she was all right with all of it. And, all in all, great vacation. And if that's something that sounds like it would be appealing to you, if you would like to try going to uh, Greece or this is a podcast about Celebrity Cruise Line. if you would like to try Celebrity Cruise Line, or if you've been on them, just like would go on again, let me know. That's what I'm trying to get out here. Let me know. I'd be more than happy to help you with that and give them a strong recommendation. That is for sure. They are a very good cruise line. So if you do, again, there's a couple ways you can reach out to me. You can reach out to me through email. My email address is j.paradise_travels@gmail.com, jay.paradise_travels@gmail.com. You could do it that, or you could reach out to me through social media, where I do post some pictures of this. It's Jay's Paradise Travels, name of my company, JAYS. There's no apostrophe in there. Just Jay's Paradise Travels. You can look me up on Instagram or Facebook and reach out to me, and I'd be happy to set something up with you. Set up an appointment, free consultation. We can talk about what you're looking for and go from there. And I do hope that you enjoyed this podcast. If you do, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel, and please share it with others. I'd like other people to get to know me. Yourself too. I'd love to be able to work with you. If you know anyone else that is looking to go on a cruise or vacation, send them my way as well. Love to be able to help them all out and to be able to have you guys enjoy what I was able to enjoy as well. And feel free in the comments, type in if you have some kind of experience with Celebrity Cruise Line, good or bad. That's okay. If there was something maybe you didn't like, I don't know, the crab cakes or something. I don't know. You can say something that's not positive as well if you'd like. Or if there's something you did have, you went on a certain cruise, you loved it, feel free. I'd love to hear about it. And feel free to make a comment in the comment section too. So once again, appreciate it. Feel free to reach out to me. Jay's Paradise Travels. Try to make this world happier one vacation at a time. Thanks for listening today. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.